Hello and welcome to the Red Phone Zone. We're hitting you up with another Confessions of a Movie Snob. Aaron's already posted his thoughts on Sucker Punch, but this time I'm going to hit you with a Sucker Punch and give you my review. So stay tuned. Welcome back. I had a chance the other night to see a pre-screening of the new Zack Snyder film Sucker Punch from Warner Brothers Pictures. Zack Snyder is probably the most famous for his film versions of the graphic novels 300 and The Watchmen, and his visual style and his kinetic type of filmmaking. Sucker Punch represents one of Snyder's first attempts at a completely original film, a film not based on a previously published or filmed material. It's his real first attempt at an original film. Now, Sucker Punch centers around a girl named Baby Doll, who's a young girl who accidentally shoots her sister when her father, who is a priest, although the movie's not really clear about that, makes an attempt to molest her after the death of their mother. She is institutionalized in a mental facility, whose name doesn't really matter at this point, where she creates a fantasy world wherein she devises a mode of escape featuring macho women with guns battling dragons, undead steampunk Nazis, and Japanese samurai golems. She, along with 4 other women in the hospital, use their fantasy world to steal 4, really 5, items to help them escape. Oh, and the whole macho women with guns fantasy takes place within another fantasy where the women are dancers and prostitutes in a brothel and not in an insane asylum. Yeah, I know. Right. My overall reaction to the film is one that I was really not expecting. I was bored. I just was deathly bored. Kept looking at my watch through the whole movie. The movie features several beautiful, intricate, and complex visual effects-driven action sequences where so much is happening the viewer has little opportunity or motivation to keep track of what's going on. The major problem with the film is that there's no emotion in it. The characters are two-dimensional, the setting is vague, and the overall story is unclear. After sitting through the 2-hour film, I was asking myself, what happened, and why should I care? So none of the characters are developed throughout the movie really enough to give something to grab on to sympathize with. Instead of being shown that these characters and their situation we're simply told that we should be sympathetic to their cause and ignore the beginning part of the film that clearly shows Baby Doll being admitted to a sanitarium. Now, it's cliched filmmaking and overbearing, clever attitude of the filmmakers, of the writers of the movie, that really sucks all enjoyment out of the movie itself. Now, the movie was written by Zack Snyder, Steve Shibuya, and looks like was also developed on a story by Zack Snyder. So, I mean, Zack Snyder is really heavily invested in the movie. It stars, just for record, stars Emily Browning as Baby Doll, Abby Cornish as Sweet Pea, Jenna Malone as Rocket, Vanessa Hudgens as Blondie, Jamie Chung as Amber, also has Carla Gugino in it, plus John Hamm makes a very brief appearance. And really, Scott Glenn is in there as a random wise guy. As a viewer, I was left watching the movie with these action scenes with the kind of sort of detached attitude a parent has when they're supervising a child who's had too much sugar. You're supposed to watch this movie and be fist pumping and rocking out to the music as these scantily clad women who are really sort of dressed up as schoolgirls of the whole movie. Kick ass and take names, but without any emotion present in the movie and the story, I sort of found myself staring blankly at explosion effect after explosion effect and sort of shutting off my brain with the feeling of, well, that's enough of that. The movie does its best to emulate the kind of anime style that you get from any number of other action and anime movies readily available anywhere else. For that matter, why would you want to, my question is, why would you want to watch a lackluster imitation of something that can be truly entertaining? I'm not the biggest anime fan, as my friends will attest to, but I can name a few anime movies over the last 30 years that this movie rips off that are more worth your time instead of settling for this cheap knockoff. Now, instead of wasting your time seeing this movie blandly imitating an anime, for example, you can spend your time on watching some of these actually important or entertaining pieces of Japanese animation. Well, ultimately, Zack Snyder has proven himself a stylistic, visionary director, but one that lacks any substance. Without proper boundaries and guidelines, Snyder will simply turn out a flashy, unmemorable piece of tripe like this that simply wastes the time of moviegoers opting to drop money on a mindless action movie. Now, I'll be the first to admit mindless action movies have their place. I certainly have several of them in my DVD collection. But where most mindless action movies can be a fun distraction, this movie is just a classic example of all style and no substance. My vote is skip it. Ultimately, you know, there are better movies out there. You know, Snyder, I think, can show that Snyder shows that he's a good director. He can do visual effects driven pictures like Watchmen, like 300, like Dawn of the Dead. But he has to have someone sitting on him that sort of gives him a good direction and gives him good boundaries. Otherwise, he turns out something like Sucker Punch. And I just say, skip it, guys. There's really no point in seeing it.